Good afternoon. My name is Mikhail and you're on the Property Show channel. Is Mersin an interesting investment destination or just a bubble inflated by marketers? We'll talk about this and much more with Alexandra Sokolova, director of the real estate agency Income Mersin. Alexandra, welcome to the exhibition. We're glad to see you again. Let's probably start with a question about Mersin, of course, which you have been representing for many, many years and are its ambassador.
Thank you.
Not only at offline events, but also online. You have a large YouTube channel where you cover it.
26K subs.
We're catching up to you, but by the way, we've grown. Last meeting we had 25,000, now we have 47,000.
Good.
We're moving forward.
It took me 9 years to get there, so you still have everything ahead of you.
We've had ours for about 5, I think. Yeah, that's right. But we're on our way. Let's talk about Mersin. It consistently ranks among the top cities in Turkey. It's called a rising star for investments. I'm curious, is it really a rising star, or is it possibly just marketing from developers who want to draw attention to Mersin? How do you see it?
Well, look, let me first tell you about the real estate market situation in Mersin. I want to emphasize that yes, indeed, I have represented Mersin for many years. Since 2009, so for 17 years, I have lived and worked in Mersin, as they say, walking the fields myself and knowing the situation firsthand. The Turkish market, the Mersin market, is like a living organism. Things are constantly changing. The market either grows or falls. I have lived through all sorts of crises in Mersin. And as of today, yes, since our last meeting, what is happening? I feel like we've stopped falling in the market. In general, I think this is a common trend throughout Turkey. And I see that we have probably already passed the plateau of stable prices. Affordable apartments are starting to run out, and emotional sales are also becoming exhausted. Developers are still loyal to buyers, but the conditions are no longer, let's say, as sweet as before. They've become more formal. And we've noticed that our buyer has changed. I work, well, first of all, with different sellers. Yes, I work with trusted developers. I have excellent options from contractors at prices lower than those offered by developers. I work with individuals, with Turks, both as sellers and as buyers. We work with foreigners. We've noticed that lately, this past winter, we were very busy with work, we were very busy with sales, and our main buyers were Europeans. That was Germany, that was Poland, that was the Baltics, and there were Turks as well. Previously, the last time we met, Russians might have made up 70 or even 80% of our market. Now, unfortunately, I can say it's about 20%. Perhaps this is due to a lack of advertising, or people can't see my wonderful YouTube channel with 126,000 subscribers. There are many factors, but nevertheless, I see that interest in Mersin has not faded. The profile of the buyer is changing. Now we see that many Turks from other regions are showing interest in buying real estate in Mersin. Mersin still offers attractive prices. As you can see, I am now shining at your wonderful exhibition with prices starting from 33,000 euros. And I want to emphasize that these are new, ready, completed and finished apartments where you can already move in and live. There aren't very many such offers, but nevertheless they do exist. And right now I believe it's the perfect time to buy. We make money in real estate not when we sell, but when we buy. You can make money in any market, whether it's falling or rising. Even now I am investing myself. I'm buying such apartments because I see that in 6 months or a year, it will no longer be possible to buy them for this price. And I will put these properties up for sale literally in 6 months or a year. And also, if you want to make money on this real estate, then you are welcome. Right now, the conditions and prices are excellent.
This indicator shows that prices have returned, in my opinion, to the levels of 2016 to 2017, because honestly, I haven't seen such prices in a long time. I see that in Alanya too, prices have dropped, but not as much. Is this an indicator that prices will rise again later? So, do you believe that there will be growth?
Look, what actually determines real estate prices in any market? This isn't just about Turkey, that's how it should be in general. It's the land, the cost of the land. Well, it's no secret that when you buy real estate in Turkey, you are also buying a share of the land under the building, unlike in Russia. That is, your share will be specified in your title deed in the tapu. And just so you know, land in Turkey is very expensive, and 50% of the property price is the cost of the land. Then there's the cost of financing. Turkish developers build with their own money. Unfortunately, there are no loans, mortgages, or other banking options for foreigners. For Turks, the conditions are also very tough. Not everyone can afford a mortgage in Turkey, and developers only offer installment plans for the duration of their construction projects. That's why we don't have this inflated bubble associated with long-term installments or cheap mortgages. Next, let's talk about construction. The cost of real estate also includes the cost of construction. What do they use to build in Mersin? It's monolithic construction that meets all seismic safety requirements, and the bricks used are BIMs. BIMs are made in Cappadocia. Cappadocia is 3 hours away from us. They are lightweight, porous, breathable, yet a strong material that doesn't weigh down the structure and is perfectly suited to our climate. Now, about the finishing. In Turkey, all apartments come with finishing. In Mersin, this includes piping for gas heating and radiators. Mersin is a gasified city, so all the gas connections are present here as well. Infrastructure is also included in the price of the apartment. All our complexes come with the standard amenities: swimming pools, children's playgrounds, free parking, and a gated secure area. There are also options like hammams, saunas, fitness centers, and so on. Naturally, the developer's profit is not. This is a business. No one is Santa Claus. Developers build to make money, and the price of real estate also includes profit, and that's marketing. How much time, how much money is invested in marketing? When I give talks, I love speaking at various events. I always ask, who has been to Mersin? Raise your hand. Most of the time, not a single hand goes up. That is, there is so little information about our region, even though I have been working in this field for many years. In other words, it's not a highly promoted place. It's not one of those Instagram famous spots that everyone knows about and wants to visit and so on. We don't have large hotels, chain hotels, or the kind of 5-star hotels you associate with Turkey, so people know little about Turkey here. But that doesn't make Mersin any worse. It's just that less has been invested in marketing it. That's why I believe that right now I'm selling apartments at cost price. And it's clear that bricks have a long lifespan. This real estate will increase in value. I can see the forecast for the next year or two. Prices will go up. If you don't make a deal within the next 6 months, the price will already be different. So yes, the market has potential, and I think right now is the very best time to buy.
If we're talking about prospects, what kind of rental yield is possible? I know that Mersin is often recommended as a city for investment, especially for renting out property. What kind of yield can you expect, and who are the potential tenants?
Well, look, there's a myth that if there are no tourists, then there's no rental market. But in reality, that's not true. Turkey has 85 million residents, which makes for an excellent domestic market. We do very well thanks to domestic tourism. We have Adana, a city with 6 million residents, just an hour's drive from us. Ankara, the capital of Turkey, is just 4 hours away from us by car. So half of Turkey, which doesn't have access to the Mediterranean Sea, comes here to a beautiful, familiar place. Turks are very patriotic. They love their food, their language, and their climate. Mersin is not a hot region, and that's why we have a lot of tourists coming here, mainly Turkish citizens, and they are willing to pay much more than foreigners would. Considering that there are practically no hotels on our coast, no 5-star hotels or even business format hotels, or the all-inclusive hotels you're used to, Turks rent apartments right away for a month, 3 months, or for their entire vacation. The husband leaves his wife and children here, goes back to his city and relaxes. That's why rentals are in high demand here, and the prices might be about the same, if we're talking in absolute numbers in terms of money, as on the neighboring Antalya coast. But at the same time, property prices here are 50% lower. That is, if we talk about it, this season all winter long, every apartment under my management was rented out. The minimum price for a 1-bedroom apartment was 400 euros. In the summer, 1-bedroom apartments go up to 1,000 euros. In the summer, there is absolutely no problem renting out an apartment. Basically, I rent out with a 70% annual occupancy rate. And again, speaking about renting in Turkey, about Mersin. Mersin is a major university city. We have a university, actually 4 universities, one of which is among the 6 largest in Turkey. Mersin University has 50,000 students and 13 faculties. There are students from different countries studying here, so apartments are rented by families with students as well as by the students themselves. We have a port. The city of Mersin is stretched out along the sea. It's not like Moscow, which is round, where everyone tries to get to the center. Mersin is elongated, stretched along the coastline. And that's why people who do business, Mersin is a free economic zone. People who come here to develop their business also either rent or buy real estate in Mersin. And again, due to the lack of affordable mortgages and the difficult conditions for purchasing property in Turkey, unfortunately, 60% of the population in Turkey rents their housing. There is absolutely no problem renting out an apartment for a long term. In Mersin, we have a kind of gentleman's agreement that tenants usually pay a year in advance. So no one goes around demanding monthly payments from them. They rent for a year, a notarized contract is drawn up, and accordingly, they can live peacefully for that year. That's why real estate in Mersin is truly profitable, genuinely interesting, and the returns in Mersin can be considered as a tool for earning income or for passive income.
If we go back to new buildings, how many new projects are there in Mersin right now? And won't there be an oversupply of new housing in the city?
Look, again, observing the last, let's say 5 years, there are now far fewer new developments starting construction than there were, say, even just 2 or 3 years ago. All the developers who were building are either finishing their projects or implementing them. But if before a developer would start, let's say 10 construction projects, now they start only 1 or 2. And now I've noticed that the trend is that developers first build with their own money and only then sell the finished housing. Previously, during pre-sales, before even digging the foundation pit, up to 30% of the properties would be sold. Then the developer would put up a fence and start building something. So no, I don't see that we have an oversupply of construction, because everything that is currently being built or completed has in fact already been sold. The developer is left with no more than 20 to 30% of the complex unsold. Many projects, as I mentioned, are not even finished yet, but they have already been completely bought up. So I don't see a problem where things are being built and no one will buy them. So in any case, I want to emphasize that Mersin is the Mediterranean Sea, sandy beaches, a wonderful resort region, and a place where you can relax.
One of the pressing questions that has interested Russians in recent years, and not just Russians, is residence permits in Turkey. We know there have been restrictions, and in some places it seems like those restrictions have been lifted. As someone on the ground, can you comment on the current situation?
Well, look, we lived there with you until October 2023. At least I did, until October 2023. This is what we call before and after. We had a life before the period when a general rule was set for Turkey. A cadastral value of $200,000 is required to obtain a residence permit for the whole family based on property ownership. After that, prices started to fall. As I said, now they are stabilizing and we are seeing a slight increase. If the migration policy changes for the better and it is officially based on property ownership, then prices in Mersin will rise as fast as a champagne cork popping. That's how much prices will go up. Because during the period when everyone was being granted residence permits, we were selling one-bedroom apartments in Mersin for 80,000 euros. There was a shortage of supply, many buyers, and few properties available. Now it's a buyer's market. Now buyers have the opportunity to choose an apartment. But I want to emphasize that if we're talking about guaranteed residence permits, it's still $200,000 in cadastral value. The tax is 4% paid on the cadastral value. The actual market value of this property may be lower. It must be a single apartment. There are such apartments in Mersin, and they must be very good apartments. These are usually apartments with 3 or 4 bedrooms. Last week, one of my clients received a residence permit. We sold him a 5-bedroom apartment. The actual purchase price can be around 150,000 euros, give or take, to fully participate in this process. In this case, the residence permit is issued quickly, it's valid for 2 years, it covers the whole family, and after 5 years you can apply for Turkish citizenship. And you're right in saying that we're currently experiencing a sort of migration thaw, so to speak. Yes, we hear rumors that it's possible to get something in some way, but again, it's at the discretion of the inspector, and most often it's granted for 6 months. If you set me the task, I want to live here permanently, then to take responsibility and say that you will definitely get a residence permit, you definitely won't be refused if you buy for $200,000 because there is no reason to deny you. But if we buy an apartment for less and don't show such a cadastral value, then it's a matter of luck. That's why we have high hopes for obtaining a residence permit, but unfortunately it doesn't happen as quickly as we would like.
I know that in Mersin something happened relatively recently that people had been waiting for a long time. The international airport opened. If we look at Mersin 5 or 10 years from now, in your opinion, what else could happen there that would change? Yes, something positive, of course, something that would change the city and perhaps improve it further and make it even more attractive?
Well, I like to joke about the airport, saying that I lived to see it open because I waited for it for 13 years. It's a good large airport, big and beautiful. The construction cost the country 608 million euros. And it really is a grand large airport. Right now we have flights to 6 German cities, so naturally the number of German residents coming here as tourists and shoppers has increased significantly. We have direct flights to Amsterdam and other European cities. There are plans to launch more routes. In Mersin, 16 international destinations are planned to open within the next year. Currently, Turkish Airlines is planning to launch flights to Moscow. I should emphasize that right now Aeroflot is the only one, and it's a monopoly. Only they operate direct flights. Actually, there's also a charter company, but they only fly on demand specifically for Akuyu. Yes, we know that the largest construction project in Turkey is located in the Mersin region. This is the Akuyu region, where a nuclear power plant is being built, 140 kilometers from Mersin, 120 kilometers from Mersin, 140 kilometers from Alanya, and 100 kilometers from northern Cyprus. It is a 4-reactor plant. I'm not a nuclear specialist. It is completely safe. I have a lot of clients who work there and have bought property, and this is a 5th-generation plant. In general, it's the most modern, most technologically advanced construction project. Now about the region's prospects. Here, just like in any decent city, well, in Moscow, for example, life is unimaginable without the metro. We are also building a metro. Yes, part of it will of course be above ground. With 2 million residents, well, as a city of 2 million, we need to be able to get around faster. As for traffic jams, yes, we know about them too. We can spend 15 minutes stuck in traffic, especially during rush hour, of course. That's how it is. But overall, our logistics are excellent because I want to emphasize that the city is stretched out and there isn't a single point of attraction like in your case. So that's an advantage for our district and something that's happening right before our eyes. Right before our eyes, the Mersin-Antalya Autobahn is being built. Currently, the drive takes 7 to 8 hours by car. There are a lot of winding roads, quite a few villages where there are speed limits and so on. A high-speed highway is being constructed. Erdogan announced that we will be able to reach Antalya in 4 hours and a large number of tunnels will be opened. It will be a faster highway without passing through populated areas. Thus, the section that currently passes through the villages, about 400 kilometers, will be relieved by 50 to 70% of transit traffic, which will improve, the environment, quietness, and so on. And residents from Antalya will be able to get to Mersin faster. People who considered Antalya but couldn't fit their budget in Istanbul or Antalya, it will be easier for them to decide to buy property in Mersin. So that's the bright future we have ahead, which will soon be realized. The Çeşmelik section from Kolesik, where we are currently observing construction, will open very soon, and we can see that construction is literally ongoing around the clock at every section.
I hope that we won't have to wait for the completion of all the construction, the metro and the road as long as we waited for the airport 13 years. Alexandra, thank you very much, as always. Concise, informative and to the point.
I could talk about Mersin for a long time and, as they say, with great enthusiasm. Come to Mersin so you can finally see it in person.
Thank you very much.
You're in. So, bye-bye.
If you're interested in real estate in Mersin, feel free to contact us using the information provided in the description of this video.